Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to In Depth with David. This is Red Sox series recap number 15. But once again, we are going to be recapping not one, but two series as we try and get back into somewhat of a normal routine. But there's been a lot of extenuating circumstances with the both of us lately, with undergoing surgical procedures and all that. But hopefully, after this, we can get back to doing one recap or one series per recap. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Red Sox series versus the Braves and the Marlins today. And once again, I'm joined by my good friend Ricky. Ricky, how are you doing?
Good, hanging in there. Just long weekend, so that's good.
This is going to be a weird recap because it's like, and I just said this before we went on air, but it's like recapping a 4 game series, yet it was two-game series when one of them should have been three and the rain was a big impact.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, for sure. And I think too, there's honestly not a ton to talk about in all of these games, really. Too. I mean, yeah, just because of rain and because of delays, thing it was. Yeah, I mean, not horrible. I don't want to give the result of how it went for the Sox, but not bad despite the various factors there. And yeah, some different, definitely good stuff out of the bullpen for sure, especially in the 2 game set with the Marlins. That definitely some good stuff there. And yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how they fare against the Astros and then the Yankees and then the Astros again, and then think uh, I think the Blue Jays after that. So they've got some tough teams ahead. So we'll see how they fare from there. We'll talk more about that later in the game later today and the rest of the week. But yeah, just pretty much the main takeaway I had was just continuous solid effort from the Sox. They pretty much just looked as they have been pretty good. I think the month of May, we'll talk about that too because it's done today, was pretty much like April. So
Right. I mean, ending off on a high note, I think we've won 7 or 8 of our last 10 games, including these series. Sorry to bury the lead, spoiler alert, whatever you want to call it. But we're just playing good baseball at this moment. Any general takeaways about the Braves series? I know it was a little while back, and they only played 2 games, but any general takeaways before we get into it?
pretty forgettable series, if I'm being completely honest. Not a ton of offense from the Braves in both games. I mean, well, a decent amount of offense from the Braves, but nothing spectacular on their end. And the Red Sox kind of the same. I mean, game 2 was definitely pretty great offensively for them, but kind of just a forgettable average series. The result kind of went as we expected back when we previewed that series way back, whenever that was. I think after the Phillies series. But yeah, I mean, pretty much as we expected, or as I expected in particular. I mean, I wasn't super. Oh, I think that's sunlight.
There
um,
we go.
there we go. Finally.
Finally,
Uh,
jeez. So,
yeah.
you know you live in Massachusetts when you're rooting for sunlight to come out in the middle of May or at the end of May. But yeah, I think this is just a tale of two halves for the Sox. I mean, obviously, and this just speaks to the identity of this team where if we can't get anything going on offense, we're going to lose. And that's what happened in game 1. And in game 2, if we're able to get stuff going on offense, then our pitching doesn't have to be perfect in order to win games. And
Right.
I think that sums up our play against Atlanta. But getting into it, game 1 of this series, the pitching matchup was Garrett Richards for the Red Sox versus Charlie Morton of the Braves. So I think he used to be on the Rays and like a few other teams way back when, but he's been a bit of a journeyman, if I remember correctly. And this is also the return of Pablo Sandoval to Fenway Park. I think this is his first time playing here at Fenway since we released him almost 4 years ago now. And are you surprised that the fans booed him? I mean, that was kind of expected.
Not really.
He robbed us of 100 million.
Oh yeah, honestly, one of the worst contracts I would say in MLB history. Just horrendous. So yeah, I get it. He was incredibly disappointing. He didn't put in any effort at all. So yeah, we'll talk about someone else who was received really warmly, who I did think fondly of, and I'm sure you do and other fans a little bit later in the next series, who got a nice reception. Former player, but Sandoval just nah. I completely agree with the justification of the boos. Like horrible, horrible, just nightmare situation back when that happened. So
Right. And I still justify the Red Sox making that move to sign him because Middlebrooks was coming off. If you remember Will Middlebrooks, I mean, geez, this is like a throwback when he was our third baseman, and he wasn't doing well at all. So we needed to fill that hole in free agency. And Sandoval just coming off a World Series run again with the Giants, so it made sense to just throw money at him. But obviously Panda, once he got his 100 million, he just sat on it, and the rest is history. I don't really want to recount that part of Red Sox history. Those are some dark ages, dark times in the franchise. But bottom of the first inning, Kike Hernandez leads off with a single to left center, and then JD lines a sharp one through Albies. It looked like it even went through his glove, but nonetheless, it goes into the outfield. So just like that in the first inning, it's bases loaded, and then there's no outs, and Bogart strikes out. And then Devers gets hit by a pitch, so this forces in Kike Hernandez, and it makes it 1-0 Red Sox, just like that in the first inning. And then we had a chance to add on more runs, but Christian Vasquez lined into a double play to end the inning as the shortstop threw it to the second baseman, and right after he caught it, because JD, who was on second, just couldn't get back in time. So just like that, double play to end the threat. Not too much you can do there. I mean, just kind of a unlucky situation that happens a lot in baseball where people get tagged up on these double play lineouts. But moving on from that, top of the third, there was first and second, and Ozuna hit a double off the wall in deep center. Contreras was able to score, so now it's 1-1. And then Albies, I believe it was the very next batter, Ozzy Albies, which we'll take a second to just talk about how interesting and intriguing this Braves team is, because they have a lot of young guns like Dansby Swanson, Ozzy Albies, Ronald Acuna. I mean, they're a fun team to watch. Freddie Freeman just won the MVP last year.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
So Albies hits one to Kike in the right field grass because Kike was playing second in this game. And Kike fired it to Devers, who tagged Ozuna. And Ozuna was the one who just got the RBI double to score Contreras. And on this grounder with second and third, he was moving up to third, and Kike threw it to third. Devers was able to put the tag on Ozuna, but then this is where it gets a little gruesome. So do you want to explain what happened to Ozuna on this play? If you remember.
Didn't he get hit by the pitch or something? I'm trying to remember exactly.
So Devers put the tag on him, but this is where Ozuna got injured, and this is how he ended up on the injured list, because his fingers got caught on Devers' cleat, and he ended up dislocating his finger.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I remember that.
So Freeman ends up scoring because he was on third, so it's 2-1 Atlanta now. But as I just said, Ozuna's fingers got caught on Devers' cleat, and you could tell right away when Devers, right after he made that tag, like, he made a grimacing face. Like, you could tell on the broadcast, like, he saw it the whole way through what happened to Ozuna. And you could just tell he just looked like he was going to throw up. When I first saw it, I thought Devers got hurt. I'm like, okay, what the heck happened to him? And, like, this is not good. Like, we can't lose Devers. But Ozuna ends up getting hurt. And this was the injury that ended up putting him on the injured list. So he would have to leave the game. And after that, so this all happened in like the first 3 innings, this little bit of action. It was 2-1 Atlanta for a while. And then top of the 6th, Pablo Sandoval gets his third hit of the game, and it's a single right up the middle. And talk about like an out of nowhere performance. I mean, Pablo Sandoval playing DH, he's kind of fallen off the face of the earth since his time in Boston. But I got to give it to him. I mean, you got to tip your cap. He put together a pretty solid game in this game 1.
Yeah, not bad, honestly. All things considered, like you said, yeah, it's surprising he's still even in the league, honestly.
Right. I mean, I think after we cut him, he went back to the Giants, and he had to work his way back up to the major league team through like the AA and AAA system. And then they let go of him, and now he's latching on to the Braves. And I mean, he's making a case for himself. I think he has like 3 or 4 pinch hit home runs this year, which is just wild. And sure, why not? And yeah, he's putting together a solid campaign. And right after that, so top of the 6th, after Panda gets his third hit, Sawamura relieves Richards after 5 2/3 innings, but Richards is responsible for the runners on first and second in this inning. And then off of Sawamura with 2 outs, Acuna, or as the Braves fans call him, Acuna, hits one down the left field line. Sandoval scores. It is 3-1 Braves now. So the damage is done off of Sawamura, but the run is credited to Richards. How do you think Richards pitched in this one?
Pretty average, I'd say. Honestly, even though he got the loss technically in this game, it wasn't as bad as it could have went. Considering the Braves, as you mentioned, have a pretty electric young offense, I was honestly, and I think we were both expecting this game to have a lot higher score count for both teams, a lot more runs scored. So with that, put into consideration, Garrett Richards kind of hung in there. I mean, it wasn't a great outing by any means, but it wasn't awful. So I would honestly say it was average because he could have done a lot worse than he did. But he didn't set up Sawamura in a good spot either. So yeah.
Is this encouraging to see from Garrett Richards? And obviously the answer to that is yes, but he's put together like 5 or 6 consistent starts now, going back to that Mets gem way back either in early May or late April. So, I mean,
that was late April, yeah.
Are we seeing the real Garrett Richards, or is this just kind of a fluky month for him?
I think we're seeing the real Garrett Richards, if I'm being completely honest, because I think like we've said with a lot of players on this podcast series since the first one we did back at the beginning of April, we kind of just the whole taking stock meme and waiting and the all wait and see meme and everything like that. I really think it's kind of panned out for Richards because I feel like every time we talk about him, he's been consistent, whether average or good. He hasn't had any horrible starts since that Blue Jays start way back in late April. And I think since that Mets game, he's been good, and he's been good against solid offenses too, which is a huge plus. So I don't know. I'm starting to think this is the real Garrett Richards. I mean, I'm not like fully 100% again convinced yet, but I think we have a lot of tough teams coming up. If he pitches well against teams like the Yankees and Astros and Blue Jays coming up, and the Braves again, they're playing them in I think a couple more weeks again. If he pitches well against those teams, if he has to face them, then I personally think, yeah, this is probably what we'll get from him. So I think too, considering he's pretty deep in the rotation, he's actually producing a lot better than some 4 or 5 guys typically do. So
I agree with that, and I think I think a good benchmark to determine if a player is legit this season is 2 months into the season, which is what we're approaching, because we're heading into early June now. And Richards, ever since he fixed his mechanics right before that Mets start, you can just tell he's been in a solid streak of pitching appearances. And I mean, yeah, this wasn't his best stuff in this Braves game. I mean, 5 2/3, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts, but that's not amazing, but that's not terrible. So
right.
I think we're seeing the real Garrett Richards in some instance. I mean, that's not to say he won't have a bad start down the line. He's just going to be average to above average for the rest of the year. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from him in these last few starts. And yeah, so after Sawamura gives up a run, 3-1 Braves, and then we can just take a quick second to talk about Charlie Morton and how he really dominated the Sox for 7 innings. Just got to tip your cap to him. A lot of pitchers haven't been able to do that to the Sox offense this year, but to the few that have, it's a great accomplishment. He went 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts. I mean, just a great outing for Morton for the Braves. And I see you changed your name. Very accurate.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely. Morton we've talked a lot too about certain pitchers who've really gotten to the Sox offense and how that in particular is a pretty good feat. Wheeler did so in that Phillies series. Ryu did so in that Blue Jays series. Yeah, this was a really excellent outing for Morton. I was super impressed by that. 9 Ks, 7 innings. I mean, that's what you want. And well, yeah, he did his thing.
So he also actually retired the last 13 batters he faced, which is like ridiculous just in any sense. But the fact that he was able to do that to our offense is very impressive. I mean, you got to tip that's not allowing a single person to get on in the final 4 innings of your pitching appearance. That's really good. Yeah,
that's like Ottavino in the show when I was playing with him the other day, and I went like 7 innings with Adam Ottavino. Like that's good stuff. That's really good stuff.
So Morton comes out after throwing a gem through 7 innings, and then Will Smith, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for the Braves, closes it out in the ninth. Braves win 3-1, and they take game 1 of the series. So Will Smith, I mean, he was getting jiggy with it on the mound, I guess.
Yeah, good work for Will.
Oh God, funny guy. I always love the name comparisons, like Matt Barnes, NBA player, all that stuff.
Yeah, Will Smith didn't get into any entanglements in that ninth inning. He really did a good job just closing it out smoothly.
Gonna plead the fifth on that one. Heading into game 2, we have the pitching matchup being Pivetta versus Drew Smyly. Drew Smiley's a guy who's been on the Rays in the past, been on the Tigers. He hasn't had a good year this year. I think his last few starts before this one were really good, where he had like a 2 ERA. But other than that, he got off to a rough start this year for the Braves. But top of the first inning in this one, the 200th extra base hit for Ozzie Albies to right is a double or a triple. It's Albies ended up getting a third on the play, but Freeman is able to score all the way from first, making it 1-0 Atlanta just like that. Then later in the inning, Dansby Swanson hits one to opposite field in deep right. Albies is able to score from third easily, so Dansby gets a double, making it 2-0 Braves in the first inning. And then top of the second, the offensive outpouring from Atlanta continues as Heredia hits the first pitch of the inning down the left field line for a double, and then Contreras hits a sac fly out to deep left to Verdugo. Heredia is easily able to tag from third, and now it's 3-0 Braves. So just not a good start for the Sox here under Pivetta. And that's just a testament to how good their offense was playing in this series. Obviously, in this game, they had a good showing. Not so much in the first game, but this is a problem with the Sox pitchers, and it keeps happening where we're having to play from behind early, and you don't want this to continue into June, but the fact that we're still talking about this at the end of May is kind of concerning, or it is concerning if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree.
So 3-0 Braves, and then bottom of the second, Hunter Renfroe, the man of the month, hits a solo shot into the monster seats. It was a line shot. It got out of here in a hurry, and it's 3-1 Braves now. That's also the 12th home run Drew Smyly has given up this year, which is a big amount to give up as a starting pitcher.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
So, and yeah, this continues just a hot month for Hunter. I mean, he's just been on a tear this month. I think his batting average is all the way up to 250. He's had 6 or 7 homers, playing great defense and right. I mean, I know you're really high on him, and I don't know if I'm where you're at, but he's having a great month, and it's good to see.
I don't want to go as far as saying like he's like the San Diego, Renfroe we saw a few years back, but it definitely is really encouraging to see him, especially a guy who's, again, like usually put in like the 7 spot. To have that extra depth with him is just really key, and he's definitely been batting really solid. He had a pretty rough start, I will say, throughout, I'd say, the first 2/3 of April, but yeah, he's definitely, as you said, the man of the month. I mean, this was a good kind of momentum moment to just get the ball rolling on offense. And he's had, and we'll talk more about the Marlins series too, but he's had in the last few series some really key moments to spark the offense for sure.
And then bottom of the 4th inning, Rafael Devers belts a homer into the center field seats, and it's a 2-run shot. So just like that, the Red Sox, after being down 3-0 early in this game, tied up 3-3 with 1 swing of the bat. And then we give the lead right back, as in the top of the 5th inning, Austin Riley of the Braves takes Pivetta deep into the monster seats. This homer was very similar in trajectory to Renfroe's, as it got out in a hurry. It was a line shot. This solo homer gives the Braves the lead again, 4-3. And neither pitcher in this one really had great outings. I'll just read the stat lines right now. Pivetta went 6 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 2 walks, but he did have 9 strikeouts, which is pretty solid. And then for the Braves, Drew Smyly went 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 7 earned runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts. So we'll get into the 7 earned runs part in a bit, but this was not a good game for the pitchers. I know you said before we went on that Pivetta had a solid outing, getting 9 strikeouts, but the 4 earned runs is a bit of a concern to me.
Yeah, I think I think the strikeouts was good to see, but I think it's balanced out a bit and brought down definitely a bit by the earned runs and the amount of hits given. So it was good. It definitely wasn't. I think I said it was his best. It was definitely not Pavetta's best performance of the year, but yeah, it wasn't. I didn't think it was horrible, but it definitely wasn't as good as it could have been. And he definitely struggled early on, which wasn't great because it put the Sox in a bit of a rut. And yeah, Smiley definitely was kind of the same. Like he had some. I don't know how many strikeouts he exactly had, but
let me check. So he had 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, he was a little bit worse, but yeah, the pitching was pretty. This was definitely an offensive heavy game, more so than defensive heavy or pitching heavy.
I'm going to pose a question. So, who do you trust more in the Red Sox rotation right now, Garrett Richards or Nick Pivetta? And the answer for me is still Nick Pivetta, but Pavetta's been kind of scuffling a bit after a hot start, and we've been on record in this podcast as saying for a while in these recaps that we trust him more or the most in our rotation, even more than the likes of Evaldi right now.
Yeah.
Or even Erod. But he's kind of been scuffling these last few starts. He didn't have his best stuff against Toronto. Didn't have a great start here against Atlanta. I think I still trust Pivetta more, but it's getting close between Richards. He's making up ground, and I didn't think I'd be saying that at the end of May, considering how Garrett started the season. But it's pretty close for me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely the gap is definitely closing for me as well. I think Pivetta and Erod were probably, like you said too, the guys we labeled as the 2 most consistent at the end of April. And we could talk about again, like at the end, like how we feel at the end of May about everything and whatnot. Go more into detail on that. But yeah, I definitely agree that the bridge is starting to get closer. I think Erod and Pivetta have definitely shown their struggles. I definitely would say Garrett Richards is starting to show his worth. And I think even Evaldi is starting to bounce back a little bit and had a couple nice outings as of late. So we'll talk about his outing in the Marlins series. But yeah, I think Garrett Richards is starting to become a lot more reliable than we had thought and most people had thought. And that's actually kind of a good thing in some ways, but also not great because Pivetta, had a pretty solid start to the year. So it's not good to see him struggle a bit. I don't know.
I'm not ready to hit the panic button, but it is concerning how these are back-to-back and really not the best month for Pivetta, or not the best way to end the month for Nick. He's kind of stumbling to the finish line. And obviously, as you just said, we'll talk about it at the end, but Erod also starting off 5-0 and really just having 3 abysmal starts and getting 3 straight losses when he's on the mound. But after that, bottom of the 6th inning, this is where the Red Sox really broke it open, and this is where it explains Drew Smiley giving up 7 earned runs as second and third. Bogaerts hits a soft grounder to third, but Verdugo was running on contact, and the throw home was not in time as Contreras, the catcher for the Braves, was not able to apply the tag in time also. So just like that, we're tied up again 4-4, and it's kind of ironic that in a close situation, it was the Red Sox base running that got us to make it a tie game.
Yeah.
Is this are you fine with a play like this? Because it was a soft grounder to third. Verdugo's running on contact the whole way. And this was easy a play he could have gone gunned down on. But do you mind this aggressiveness?
Yeah, I think in that situation, I think it was fine. I mean, the Red Sox base running has obviously not been great, so it is always a little bit like you tense up a bit when you see somebody getting aggressive. But that aggression is definitely key, and it worked for Verdugo in that instance. So, yeah.
I didn't love the aggression there, I'm not going to lie, because we have second and third, and I know people are going to say, like, oh, so what if Verdugo's out at the plate? Then runner on second gets to go to third, and you still have someone in scoring position. But you don't want to run into outs, and we've said this, and you don't want to, whenever you have a chance to not run into an out, you don't want to have to do that. So, well, it paid off there, and it was a healthy gamble. I don't want to do that all the time, but hey, I mean, I respect Verdugo. I think we forgot to mention him in one of the last podcasts where like and people we trust to steal bases. I would put Verdugo in there because he's got some wheels.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, he's no Mookie Betts, obviously. I know we keep comparing them, but he can steal some bases every now and then. So nonetheless, he's able to tie the game there. And then first and second now, Devers hits one off of the monster. JD scores. Bogarts goes to third. And for the first time tonight, the Red Sox have the lead 5-4. Then Santana walks to load the bases. And then Christian Vasquez comes up. He's really been quiet lately, and you just knew he was long overdue for a hit. And he does just that. Hits a single on the right. 2-run single, scores both Bogarts and Devers. So now it is 7-4 Boston. And that is why Smiley's responsible for all 7 runs. So yeah, I mean, I don't. Another thing about Vasquez, like we haven't heard much from him lately, but I don't think he's not doing great, but he's not doing anything terrible.
Yeah, pretty much just average, honestly.
It's fine with me that he's not going in any like Franchi Cordero or Bobby Dahlback type slumps. I mean, I don't think we're going to get that from Vasquez, but he's doing his thing, and obviously you love the defense he provides behind the plate.
Right.
And then right before the rain delay happened, which we'll get into, our boy Adam Ottavino comes in and pitches 1 1/3 innings. And do you want to explain how he did?
Ooh, I'm trying to remember, as I'm so focused on Ottavino the last 2 games he pitched. So I forget. I actually forget how that one went.
Automatic Ottavino, living up to
That's
the nickname.
right. Yes, that's right. He did really well. That's right.
So 1 1/3 innings, 0 hits, 0 earned runs, 0 walks, 0 strikeouts. The best appearance in the history of Adam Ottavino's mankind. Even though what I literally just said doesn't make sense, but if in essence, best performance of his life, easily.
Not gonna lie, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the next few, but Ottavino, he's kind of starting to show some grit.
Is he on the doorstep for you still, or are you getting ready to let him into the door to have dinner?
I'm close. He's where it is I'm in the doors here. His hand is like on the knob, but I'm waiting behind the door. I think I'll let him turn the knob and open the door soon, but it's getting there. He's gonna be invited in soon. Invited to cookout real soon.
I'm getting ready to. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat where he's at my doorstep and I have my hand on the doorknob and I'm getting ready to twist it to let him in, but not quite there yet, but almost. I mean, this was the outing of the season out of the bullpen. I'm just kidding. I mean, Barnes had some gems. I mean, that'd be a little ridiculous. I don't want to be too much of a homer here, but you just love to see that out of Ottavino. His best outing of the season in relief, 1 1/3 innings, just perfect. And then it's only fitting that right after that, Mother Nature was just so shooketh by how well of Adam Ottavino pitched that a 3-hour rain delay ensued.
Yep, that was weird.
Are you surprised? Like, I don't know the situation, but are you surprised they didn't just resume it the next day? Because I think the Red Sox had an off day after this.
They did, yeah. I'm honestly kind of surprised, yeah, personally.
Because it would have been so easy to just say, like, okay, we'll play the rest of the game tomorrow. But they've been doing this the last couple of years at Fenway, where they make you wait a while to get this rain over with. And I mean, a whole game could have gone by and finished in almost the time that this rain delay commenced. But
yeah, like what time was it when the game started back up again? I forget.
Like probably after 10. I know it got after like right after midnight, so I'm sure the players were happy about that.
Yeah.
But no, the show must go on and play resumed. Bottom of the 8th inning, the Sox had runners on second and third. Danny Santana reaches on an error as the ball goes off Swanson's glove. Bogarts comes in to score. It's 8-4 Boston. And what I thought was funny about this is very similar to the games last year when the game resumed, because you could hear the players because all the fans had left at this point because no one was sticking around to watch them because they all went home.
2020 part 2.
Right. So 8-4, you could hear all the players, shrieking and what have you. And then Renfroe goes to third on the Bogarts play or the Danny Santana play. Vasquez hits a sac fly to score Hunter in the deep right, making it 9-4 Boston. And then the top of the ninth, off man injuries, Wilson Contreras crushes a homer to Lansdowne Street, making it 9-5. So Barnes has to come in, but he does get the final 2 outs. So Boston wins 9-5, and we end up getting the series split. But I don't mean to be a nitpicker here, but you just don't want to see Barnes have to come in a situation like that in a 4-run game now and having to have him get the final 2 outs. So, obviously Andrees has been hot and cold here, but you want him to get the final 3 outs in that game with ease because you don't want to have to use Barnes when you don't have to.
Oh, yeah. Realistically, in a situation like that, like Matt Barnes just is not necessary.
So Boston gets the series split with Atlanta in the 2-game set. Who are your players of the series for the Red Sox?
I'd say I'd give the players of the series, I'd give it to Devers as my number one. He had that really solid HR, did a good job bringing in runs, getting on base, doing his thing. Just solid series for Devers. And I'd give the second to Renfroe. Just his May solid streak has continued in that series, and he hit well. He was good defensively. He did what he needed to do. I think for pitching, there's really only 2 games. I guess I'd just give it to Richards over Pivetta just because even though Richards got the loss, he pitched a little bit better. Although Pivetta did have a lot of strikeouts, he struggled somewhat. So, and then I think for the reliever, obviously, we're gonna. I'll go with Adam Ottavino on that one. So it's weird to say that, but I might be saying it twice. Not to, I might be. That's not burying the lead, but Ottavino actually had like you said, automatic Ottavino. I now that you brought it up, I remember actually being pretty wowed by that. So yeah, good stuff from him for sure. So
yeah, for the Red Sox, for me, I had Devers finding ways to get on base. Obviously, had the huge homer, just continuing his hot year so far. He is the league leader in RBIs. I think he has over 40. That might have changed, but at least at this point, he was the existing leader in RBIs, and he just continued to really impress this season at the plate. Hunter Renfroe, as you said, continues his hot month of May, had a homer as well, got on base. I think he had a 2-hit game, and just good plate discipline, just doing all the right things. And he's really overachieving so far in his Boston tenure. And then for pitching, for the first time in these recaps, I did not pick a starting pitcher. I did not choose either Richards or Pivetta. I went with Ottavino as the pitcher of the series for similar reasons as you. I mean, 1 1/3 innings, completely flawless. You'd love to see it. How about for the Braves?
The Braves, I had Ronald Acuna, or Acuna, as the Braves' own fans say. He had, I believe, the first game of the series, he had a 2-hit game. He had a hit in the second game, so hits in both games. I think the second game he only had 2 or 3 at-bats, so 1 hit out of that's not bad. Yeah, he got on base. He did what he needed to do. He's one of the best young talents in the league, so that's not a surprise. I'd say for the second player, I'd probably give it to Riley because he had that really good home run, similar to Renfroe's that he mashed. But a lot of the guys on the team had pretty similar stat lines. There was, outside of Acuna, there wasn't anybody that really wowed me per se, like there has been in past years. But I guess I'd just go with Riley. But you could say somebody like Freeman or a bunch of people. And then I think for pitching, I'll definitely give it to Morton just because of his excellent outing. I mean, he really got to the Sox offense. He did what he needed to do. He shut down one of the best actually the best offense still ranked in the league. So to do that, that's impressive. And I think he had, 9 strikeouts, I believe. Something like that. He had a really solid outing. So yeah. And then for reliever, I'll give it to Will Smith because I like the name, and he came out and closed out a really good game and helped Morton out. So yeah, why not?
Making his boys from Bel Air proud. Gotta love it. I had Contreras. He was able to get on base in the first game, and obviously he had a nice homer. A meaningless homer nonetheless in game 2, but he was able to score in multiple facets. I had Panda in the first game, believe it or not, because he had 3 hits. Even though he didn't play in the second game, I mean, I got to tip my cap to him. He went 3 for 4. As much as I hold a lot of resentment, as you probably do, and a lot of Red Sox fans towards him and the way things went in his Red Sox tenure, he had a good game. Ozzy Albies and Acuna, the young guns, just did well, getting RBIs and getting on base. And then for the pitcher, Charlie Morin just throwing an absolute gem against the Boston Red Sox offense. So that is it for the Braves series. Now we're going to talk about the Marlins series, and I have a feeling this one might go pretty quickly, but just takeaways from it before we start.
Weird. I would use the word weird to describe this series. Messy, like the weather. Rain. I mean, the rain really affected this series. We had a shortened first game, normal second game, but not a ton of offense. Just pretty average offense in both games. Nothing horrendous, but fine, passable. Just a weird series, honestly. That's my biggest takeaway.
It's kind of hard for me to remember, even though it just happened, what happened in the series, because the rain was just such a big factor. I haven't seen this in a while in Boston, where obviously, Northeast, especially Massachusetts, is known for unpredictable weather, being 70 in the heat of winter and 45 in the heat of summer. But this was a weird series because the rain impacted the Sox games for 4 straight days.
Right.
Which I haven't seen in a while, but yeah, I think that's a great word to sum up the series as it being weird. But we'll get into game one. Pitching matchup is Perez Day for the Red Sox versus Cody Poteet of the Marlins. And a little fun fact is that Rafael Devers was playing against his cousin in the series, Jose Devers.
Yeah, he blew him a kiss too.
He did. I saw that. Just love the Devers family. And top of the second, off of Perez, Jorge Alfaro hits a 2-run shot into the right field bullpen, making it 2-0 Miami. Bottom of the third inning, first and second, though, JD hits one to left center off the wall. Renfroe and Kike are able to score on Martinez's 2-run double. So just like that, it's tied up at 2. Then bottom of the fifth inning, do you want to explain what Alex Verdugo did?
Verdugo mashed a home run. I believe it was a 3-run home run.
3-run home run, yep.
That ended up being the walk-off for this game. This was it. I mean, Verdugo hit the home run. Sox go up 5-2, and the rain came back, and that was it, really. So it was did they play the top of the sixth?
So, yeah, they did. This is so. I still don't get this. It's bottom of the fifth, and this is an underrated home run from Verdugo because he hit this when the rain was really coming down. That's hard to get that ball to carry that much.
There's some really cool pictures too that I saw on Instagram and Twitter that the Red Sox put too with him in the rain. That was a cool moment for sure.
Right, and he hits one into the right field seats. 3-run shots. The Red Sox take the lead and eventually win the game by a score of 5-2. And you just gotta love Verdugo's energy too. Just to talk about that quickly, he's always fired up whenever he does something great and helps the team. He reminds me a lot of Johnny Gomes, honestly, with how fired up he used to get when he played in the Sox.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was it. I mean, we could talk about Perez quickly. He went 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 strikeouts. And then Cody Poteet went 4 1/3, 4 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. So nothing flashy from Perez, but I mean, he got the job done as he's been doing for most of the year.
Yeah, I think this counts as a win for him, right?
It does, yeah.
To 2-2 on the season. Well, that's right. Not the 5 guy. I mean, he's hanging in there. So, all right, Perez.
Then top of the 6th, the rain starts coming down hard, but the show does go on, at least for the moment. And Adam Ottavino comes in. And do you want to explain how Ottavino did in this outing?
Adam Ottavino in the rain goes back to automatic Ottavino. I'm pretty sure this was a 1-2-3 inning or something.
No, so he actually walked the bases loaded.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
This is the Ottavino I know. So this is after that Braves game. My hand's on the doorknob, but after this Marlins game, my hand was off the doorknob, but then it's lightly on it again because he walked the bases loaded, but he got himself out of his own jam, and he got Diaz to strike out to end the inning, but he walked the bases loaded. So again, he worked his way into a pickle, but he got himself out of it. Are you impressed by that, or are you concerned by that?
Both. I'm actually both. The fact that he got himself in a jam and got out of it is like the most Adam Ottavino thing to do. It's like it's literally everything his inconsistency in one. Like we don't typically see his inconsistency happen like in the same game where like he'll suck and be good in the same game. But in this case, like this was Ottavino's like the duality of Ottavino in one. So I was impressed and disappointed by it, but that's kind of like how Ottavino always is. So
That's an excellent way to put it. That's like that one game was just a snippet of how this whole season has been for Ottavino. Yeah. You saw the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like the good, getting himself out of the jam. The bad, walking the bases loaded. The ugly, having to do all of this with the rain coming down.
Exactly.
So that's just like a symbolic outing. And he got Diaz on the Marlins to strike out with the bases loaded, getting out of the jam. And I hope they gave him the save. I don't know. I'll have to check, but I genuinely hope that they gave Adam Ottavino the save in this game because right after this, after 5.5 innings of play, the game got called and the Red Sox win 5-2. So as all these NBA fanboys like to say, this was a Mickey Mouse win.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, short game, but yeah.
Are you surprised they called it this early? Because I feel like there should be a rule where the game needs to go at least 6 full innings.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't have it ended at like 7, just because when they play double headers, they do the 7 innings. So I feel like that's adequate, just because the league has now changed it, so that's now the standard for double headers. So they could just treat it like that, even though it's not. Yeah, I was a little bit shocked too, for sure.
Because, granted, you run into schedule conflicts, but like. Just a few nights ago, we waited 3 hours for the rain to stop, and now, granted, we had an off day after that, but you're gonna just call the game after 5.5 innings when, 3 runs isn't that hard to overcome when you still have like 9 outs left to go in the game on offense.
Right.
So I was surprised that they called it, but I'm not complaining. Red Sox pretty much got a free win. Not much really to say. They just took care of business, and yeah, we'll head into game 2. So game 2 was Eovaldi versus Trevor Rogers of the Marlins. Rogers coming in is 6-2 with a 1.75 ERA coming in. Easily one of, if not the best pitcher so far this season. And this game also got delayed by 15 minutes to begin with. So just the rain continuing to impact all the games. And this was also the first Fenway game all year where it was full capacity.
Yup. That was a big factor. Will definitely come into play with who we just talked about a little bit later too.
It seems like they filled up the crowd pretty well, honestly. I think it was probably like 95%. Like there were some empty seats, but for the most part, I mean, they were rocking at Fenway.
Yeah, I definitely think the rain played a role in that too. I think if it was a really nice sunny day, it probably would be at 100%. But yeah, I think between the rain and still hesitation in some people, which I get, but I'm not going to state my views on everything, but I think, like, if you want to go and see a game at Fenway, like, go do it.
We can both agree, though. Like, it's good to have fans back in the crowd. And just to segue into, like, basketball, obviously I still don't know if you're serious about this, but you're a Knicks fan, and we can just tell how electric Madison Square Garden is.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely am rooting for the Knicks, but, yeah, they've been electric minus the racial slurs of Trae Young's dad and the spitting that happened. That was unacceptable. But yeah, I think the NBA fans, this is the rowdiest I've like ever really seen NBA fans like in a while, because all the incidents that have happened too, without going on full tangent between Kyrie and Westbrook and Trae Young and Ja Morant's parents. Like this is all bad stuff that happened. But yeah, I think having fans back is good all in all though, because it gives sports life again, and especially with like the Red Sox, like it's just so satisfying seeing Fenway filled, especially too when they zoom out and you see people in the crowd, or behind home plate you see a full crowd cheering and standing up for certain pitchers or batters when they get a key moment. I mean, it's just you love to see it, honestly.
And just a quick PSA to anyone watching. If you go to a sports game this year, we know we all miss going to these ball games and all that over the last 14, 15 months, but just behave. Like, just enjoy the game. Don't act like an idiot.
Yeah.
Or you'll face the consequences. It's just really disappointing to see. But getting back to the game, top of the first, Nate Eovaldi worked his way out of the inning after giving up a double. Nasty Nate had 5 straight Ks, struck out the side in the second. He was really doing good early. I mean, this was easily one of his better outings of the year. Bottom of the second, Devers beats out Rogers, who's covering first for the infield single. Renfroe then singled, so back-to-back singles after Hunter singles to left, making it first and second. Bobby Dahlbeck, who's been really quiet for a bit, singles to left. Devers scores from second, making it 1-0 Boston. Then Christian Arroyo singled to shallow left, and Hunter Renfroe tried to score from second, but Corey Dickerson, the left fielder for the Marlins in this game, had a nice play, gunning down Renfroe trying to get home, and just like that, the inning is over. And Sandy Leon had a nice tag, and I just remembered we want to talk about him, but another member of the 2018 Red Sox winning World Series championship team, Sandy Leon, making his return to Fenway.
Yeah, he definitely. I think they played a tribute video. I heard he got a really warm ovation, which is nice. I think Sandy Leon did, he was really key defensively, and he's a solid catcher. He's not the best at the plate, but he's definitely not as good as Vasquez. But he's a really solid guy and a really good presence and a good veteran leadership and whatnot. And yeah, I'm really glad he got a good ovation from the fans there. He actually looked really like emotional almost. So I'm glad he was received well. Definitely makes sense that they would receive him well over Panda, but there's a huge contrast between the two. So yeah, definitely great to see him back. Kind of like the whole Mitch Moreland treatment too. It's always good to see one of those guys back and getting a nice warm ovation. So.
And I think Leon said he didn't expect to get a warm reception from the crowd. So this was like a pleasant surprise for him. And it's just nice to see the Red Sox fans acknowledge, like, you were a part of arguably the greatest team in franchise history. So we commend you, and,
right.
Drinks on us for the rest of your career whenever you're in Boston. So just good stuff to see. And going back to that play where Renfroe got gunned down, trying to score from trying to go home. I mean, I didn't like this play at all. I don't know if Fables, the third base coach, sent him, or Renfroe just went on his own accord, but that was hit way too shallow, in my opinion, for him to test it.
Yeah, that's another base running error right there. I mean, just trying to go home. He should have just stayed at third. It really was too shallow.
Then Nasty Nate had 6 Ks through 3 innings. Bottom of the fourth, Renfroe doubles down the left field line, so he kind of makes up for the base running blunder earlier.
Yep.
And Kevin Plawecki, who's been pretty quiet also this series, or this season, really. We haven't talked about him too much in these recaps. Singles to right, and Hunter scores, so it's 2-0 Boston. And Eovaldi, after that, gets pulled after 5 1/3 innings. He went 5 1/3 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts. So, again, one of Nate's better outings. Little disappointing that the pitch count was pretty high, so we couldn't go deeper, but I'm happy with this.
Yeah, I agree definitely with the pitch count. But, yeah, this was a really solid inning for Nate Eovaldi, and that's good to see, because I think he had been struggling a bit, but he's kind of been on the back on track the last few outings. So it's good to see from Eovaldi, because he's still the number one guy at the moment. So
then top of the sixth, Josh Taylor comes in, and he does his job. I think, did you mention him and also the relievers you could trust right now?
Mm-hmm.
So he, in this outing, went 1 inning. He gave up 3 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and also had 2 strikeouts. So he was able to work his way out of a tough situation. Also, just another little fact about Josh Taylor. In this game, he got his 12th straight scoreless appearance.
That's really good.
I didn't think I'd be saying that about Josh Taylor, but what do I know? I mean, he's putting it together.
Yep. Yeah, I think we've in the last podcast we did back when we did it, we mentioned too how Josh Taylor is starting to show signs of I'm really liking what I'm seeing continuously. I mean, that's good stuff he's dealing. So they need that from him. So that's great.
And the bullpen in most of this game was phenomenal once Eovaldi came out, which we'll get into a bit more later. And top of the seventh, Adam Ottavino comes in once again for the third time in this recap. We are going to be talking about automatic Adam. And how does he do in this game, if you remember? This was the one on Saturday, I think? Yeah.
This game was he was really good in this game, from what I remember.
So he got himself out of a bases loaded jam. I don't think it was his fault because I have this pitch line right here. He pitched 2/3 of an inning. He gave up one walk, but he had 2 strikeouts. So maybe his walk forced the bases loaded, if I remember correctly. But he got himself out of this jam with 1 out by downing both Jose Aguilar and Cooper of the Marlins by way of the K. So he got back-to-back strikeouts to get himself out of another bases loaded jam. I mean, I'm starting to, open up the door and like the door is halfway open, Adam. Come on in.
Yeah, that was a good inning, and he looked really fired up after that too. But it's all coming full circle from that Minnesota game. The hat, the F word, and now the cheers. He said he was fired up from Fenway. So yeah, the doors, it's coming open just a crack, like when you partially open the door just to peek through. It's getting there.
And you want to just talk about the impact the fans had on that too, like you were talking about earlier, how the crowd was really at his back.
Yeah, the Ottavino said too in a post game interview I saw too that the Fenway crowd just really brought it, and he felt the energy, and that definitely helped him. So that was great, and you could tell they were fired up for all the relievers really in this game. There were a lot of people behind home plate standing up and cheering. It's really great to see. Sox fans are normally really classy, really good, just motivational crowds typically for their own team. So you love to see it, and if that helps Ottavino's, continuous streak of, getting out of jams and whatnot, and then that's ideally what you want. So
I don't think Adam Ottavino would envision helping out the Red Sox in his mid-30s in relief appearances because I don't know if you knew this, but he was a Yankees fan growing up.
Yep.
So talk about, he's probably on a mission. I mean, his favorite team growing up traded him to probably one of his least favorite teams growing up, and now he's helping them out. So maybe Ottavino's turning the corner. I don't know. I mean, he's not been perfect. I mean, that first outing against Atlanta was flawless, but he hasn't been perfect in these last 2 outings we talked about. But at the end of the day, he hasn't given up any runs. So top of the 8th, though, Ottavino is preceded by Darwin Hernandez and Sawamura, who both come in and take care of business in the 8th inning. Bottom of the 8th, Devers doubles off the Green Monster, and Hunter Renfroe singles to right, getting another RBI in his tally, just continuing his hot month. So the Red Sox get a little insurance in this bottom of the 8th inning as the lead goes from 2-0 to 3-0 Boston. Then top of the 9th, Barnes comes in, and Jesus Aguilar ends up putting Miami on the board with an RBI single as he scored Sierra from second. So the score is now 3-1 Red Sox, but he ends up closing it out at the end. Red Sox win 3-1. We take the series, and we actually sweep the series as it was only a 2-game set, as Game 3, which was supposed to happen yesterday, ended up getting rained out, but it got rescheduled for Monday, June 7th at 5:10. So, nice little series sweep for the moment.
Yeah, that's and the good thing is too is it got postponed to next Monday, so it's really not a long wait, which is good, just to wrap it up for both teams.
So yeah, that'll do it. Who are your Red Sox players of the series?
I would give my first player of the series to Renfroe. Outside of that base running mistake he made in Game 2, he was excellent at bat. I think he had 3 hits in Game 2, and Game 1 I believe he had a hit as well. So his month of May was just this really capped it off. I mean, today's the final day of the month, so we'll see how he does today. But all in all, this has been a great month for Renfroe, and for being a deeper rotation guy, he's been really key in knocking in some RBIs, getting some clutch home runs, doing his thing. And then for my second pick, I have Verdugo. This is a pretty short series again, too. So we only really got a game and a little over a half. So we didn't get a full sample of everybody. But I think Verdugo's, walk-off home run to win them that short game was a pretty fun moment, pretty clutch moment. He was fired up. It was in the rain, cool, pictures came out of it. It's a cool moment, and I'm sure yeah, he'll remember that. So yeah, definitely would give him the second. And then for pitching, I'll definitely give it to Evaldi for the Red Sox because I think, as I mentioned, his outing was excellent. It was really good. Pitch count was high, obviously. He didn't pitch as long as he ideally we would want him to, but he did his thing nonetheless. And then for the reliever, I'll give it to Ottavino because I think he got himself out of the situation. You had the duality situation, and you had another situation where the bases were loaded, and he did his thing. 2 outs, bam, bam. Nice job.
So for the Red Sox, for me, I had JD as my first star. Multiple hit game in game 2, and then he had some RBIs in game 1. Renfroe had a 2-hit game, not only hitting the ball well, but just getting RBIs, continuing his hot month, and just getting on base by all means necessary, even taking walks. Devers had another solid series, multiple hit games. Verdugo with the eventual walk-off homer, as you said. Other than that, he didn't do too much, but that was the winning swing for the team. And then obviously Nasty Nate on the mound with a great outing in Saturday's game. 5 1/3 innings, pitched really well. Didn't give up a run, 7 strikeouts. Love that out of your number one pitcher for the moment. How about for the Marlins?
For the Marlins, I got to give it to Starling. I thought it was Sterling, but Starling Marte, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe he's their leadoff batter. He's got a pretty decent average this year. He had some nice moments offensively, and I would give the second to Jesus Aguilar because I believe he take it deep.
He was the one. Yeah, so he got an RBI off Barnes in the 9th.
Right. Yeah. So I that was game 2, right, where he scored that run. So yeah, he gave them some life and potentially brought them back in. So yeah, I'd say those were probably my 2 picks. And then in terms of pitching, both starters for the Marlins didn't really impress me at all. So it's kind of hard to pick, even though what's his name? With why do I forget his name? Rogers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Rogers is an excellent pitcher, but he didn't really bring it. So he did all right, but it wasn't like, I guess I'd just give it to him. I don't know.
For the Marlins, for me, I had Dickerson. Yeah, had a few hits across the series, and then obviously he had a nice play nabbing Hunter Renfroe from left with a nice throw to home plate. Alfaro I had for the Marlins because he had the only 2 RBIs for the Marlins in the first game. Sierra got on base both games pretty consistently for the Marlins. He had a 3-hit game in game 2 and scored the only run in that game, and just found ways to get on base. And for the pitcher, I had Rogers because even though he gave up 2 runs, he put together a pretty solid stat line. 6 innings, 9 hits, which was the killer, but 2 earned runs, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. So I thought, he didn't pitch amazing, but if I had to pick a pitcher from the Marlins, I'd definitely pick him. So do you want to just take a quick moment, I guess, since this is the end of May, to just recap the month, what we liked, what we didn't like, what they like about us, what they don't like about us?
Yeah. I think the month of May was another really solid month, honestly. It's been a really hectic month. I know it has, obviously, for you and for me, between surgeries. I was moving out of school right in the middle of the month on, I think the 15th, so smack in the middle. I had finals and whatnot. You had stuff. We both had a lot of stuff going on, but the Sox were really solid again this month. I think this month, did they only have 9 losses?
So we're 32. So we went 15 and 10 because we were 17 and 10 at the end of April, because I remember that because of the meme. And right. We're 32 and 20 right now. So we're 15 and 10 at the moment. Depending on how today goes, we'll either be 15 and 11 or 16 and 10.
So pretty solid. I mean, not as good as the fabled 17 and 10, but Red Sox currently sit at 12 games above 500. They're really neck and neck with the Rays, which I expected personally. The way the standings are right now, my personal take is by the end of the year, I'm going to stand by this. I think that's going to be what we're going to see. And I don't even know. I might put the Blue Jays above the Yankees when all said and done, but the Yankees are currently reeling. They got swept by the Tigers, which was abysmal. Their fans are mad. Their team just does not have a lot of offensive momentum. Their offense is ranked the second. They have the second most least runs scored behind Baltimore on a stat I just saw yesterday, which is horrible. That offense is loaded. I don't want to hear it from Yankee fans. Garrett Cole is a cheater. Maybe. I don't know. Not to go on a full-on tangent, but I think the way the standings are right now is pretty telling of what we might see come the end of the year. If the Red Sox keep up what they've been doing, things are looking good. I'm really surprised they've managed to sustain themselves. I don't know how you feel, but after 2 months now, it's really looking like this team is legit. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win, and we've both talked about them not winning, a ton of games, but they'll at least win enough games to, I think, to potentially be a wild card team if they keep up the pace they've been playing. And they've got definitely a tough couple weeks coming up against playing some really good teams in the AL that could be potential playoff matchups down the line. But pretty good stuff in May. I mean, certain guys have really continued to do great. Xander Bogaerts has continued his excellent stretch. Devers has been great. JD's stayed solid, been the player we wanted, the player we want from him. Hunter Renfroe stepped up. Kike came back well from injury. Verdugo rebounded well. It's good to have Arroyo back now. Santana was a nice fit. He's been pretty decent in his starts this month where he's came in. Franchi was DFA'd. Great. Give him some time in AAA. Hopefully he'll develop and do better when he comes back. The relievers, some of them have been shaky, but we've seen some standout guys. Josh Taylor's really starting to come around. Sawamura's had his highs and lows, but I still trust him. Whitlock's had his highs and lows, same thing. Ottavino's starting to get there. Matt Barnes, pretty solid. Starter-wise, not great. There's been bad, mainly Erod and Pivetta having some struggles, but Evaldi, Perez, and Garrett Richards have surprisingly, not Evaldi, but Richards and Perez have surprisingly been good. So, yeah, solid month. I don't know how you feel, but I definitely am shocked, honestly, that the Red Sox are still in this and still playing, at the level they were at the end of April.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people thought we just had a fluky month of April and we were going to cool off. And I mean, this is just another solid month. I think if it wasn't for this last little stretch run at the final 10 games of the month, we'd kind of be in a more difficult situation because first half of this month was pretty wishy-washy, but we're kind of rebounding this latter half of May, putting together some great baseball. Offense is done, I mean, as we've expected. You talked about the heart of the order, Bogaerts, I almost said Benintendi. Geez, I'm thinking of the Killer Bees. I almost said Benintendi, but Bogaerts, JD, Devers also doing their thing. Verdugo, almost hitting around 300, showing some power. Renfroe really coming in clutch with a huge month for us. And I mean, we're in a good spot. I mean, yeah, we lost the division lead, but that's hard when the Rays are as hot as they are. I think they've won 15 of their last 16 games or something crazy. So it's going to be tough. I mean, the division's just going to be a bloodbath between us, the Rays, the Yankees, and the Blue Jays. And you could look at maybe 3 teams coming out of the AL East and qualifying for the playoffs when the season's all said and done, or the regular season's all said and done. But it's going to be fun to see. The pitching, there's some clear holes in this team. The starting pitching is a work in progress. I think we regressed a bit after a stronger April. Obviously, we talked about Pivetta and Erod, both really looking concerning in their last few starts. Perez is starting to pick it up. Obviously, Garrett Richards has had a steady month, and Evaldi's just been, for the most part, good. This team is really going to benefit from later in the summer, I think, when Chris Sale comes back.
Yeah.
I don't expect him to be the Chris Sale of old, but if we can keep going on the steady pace of, keeping our name in the mix and not only the division race, but the playoff race, once Chris Sale comes back, I mean, that's just going to throw another wrench in the whole playoff seeding mix up. So I think we're in a solid spot if we can just keep this going. It's just we have to roll with the punches and know that this bullpen, it's not going to be our strong suit game in and game out. We're going to have nights where they're going to be our kryptonite, same with our pitching as a whole. I don't know what that means for the plans at the deadline, but we'll see what happens. It's if we get into a situation where we're a wild card team, which is where I think we're going to end up, because I think it's only a matter of time, as much as I hate to say it, where teams like the Yankees and the Rays are going to be kind of leapfrogging us and being more consistent because their teams are just better structured than us at this moment. So I think it's going to be between maybe us and the Blue Jays trying to compete for maybe a second wild card spot, assuming 3 teams come out of the AL East. But in a situation like that, if you ask me, do I feel confident in a 1-game wild card if we could win? It's tough. I mean, I don't know if any team could say that because your whole season comes down to 1 game. I don't know. Anything can happen. So, well, I hope the Red Sox win the division. I hope at this point it's more realistic that we're a wild card team, but we're playing great baseball, and I hope that continues.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for this recap. We'll take a quick second to recap the series coming up later today against the Houston Trash Cans.
Trash.
How do you think that's going to go? So the probable pitchers today at 4:10, it's Erod versus Jose Urquidy, who has he's 3-2 with a 3.22 ERA. Tomorrow at 8:10, it is Garrett Richards versus Luis Garcia. Garcia is 3-3 with a 2.93 ERA. And then Wednesday, June 2nd, the third game is Nick Pivetta versus Framber Valdez, who is 0-0 with a 2.25 ERA. Then the final game of the series in this 4-game set is Red Sox versus Astros. Of course it is. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's Perez versus Jake Odorizzi, who's 0-2 with a 6.75 ERA. So how do you think this series is going to go? Because I think we might have our hands full in this one, as much as I hate to say it.
Yeah, I think at best they'll probably walk away with a split. That last game, I could see them potentially taking, even though it's Perez, I think, on the mound. The starter for the Astros, Odorizzi, I believe, is the starter of that game. Yeah, his ERA is like a 6.34, so they could take advantage of that. But again, Martin Perez is on the mound for the Sox, so that might be a high offense game. That might be a pretty offensive big battle there. I personally see them losing today, if I'm being honest, just because of Erod has been just reeling as of late, and it's unfortunate to see. But I kind of see them losing today, honestly. And then their next 2 games, too, the pitchers on the mound have really solid ERAs, so it's going to be tough. I mean, I don't want to say they lose the series outright, but you know what? I'm actually going to say I think they might actually lose this series. I'm going to be completely honest. This is going to be a tough one.
I'll just be optimistic and say I'll say we get a split. I think we're going to lose these first 2 games. Urquidy is 3-0 with a 1.52 ERA in his last 4 starts.
That's really good.
Garcia is 3-0 with a 1.69 ERA in his last 3 starts. And Richards, even though he's 4-1 with a 2.65 ERA in his last 6, he's walked 4 in his past 2 starts. So I think we lose these first 2 games. I think today has potential to be like a runaway game where the Astros really blow it open. Whereas tomorrow, if we lose, maybe we lose in like a close 3-2 pitching battle. But the final 2 games against Valdez with Pivetta on the mound, maybe Pivetta can get going again and, just maybe we can get some offense, maybe get to Valdez. Perez versus Odorizzi, I mean, that just seems like we've been really bad at predicting these games that we think are going to be offensive shootouts, but that just has offensive shootout written all over it.
Yeah.
Perez, even though he's been good on the road, 1-1 with a 2.91 ERA, and he's actually pitched really well against Houston in his career with a 2.97 ERA in 5 starts.
Yeah.
I just think this has the potential to be a shootout. So our best bet is to try and win games 3 and 4 and just try and salvage a split from this Astros team that, as much as the MLB and a lot of America hates to say it, they're still a solid team.
Yeah, it does suck to say. Also, too, did they move Pivetta to the 4 spot and Richards to 3?
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess so, because it would, I guess, theoretically, the rotation is Evaldi, Erod, Richards, Pivetta, and Perez. So Richards is getting a promotion, or got promoted a little bit.
There we go.
Yeah. So we'll see how that series goes. It starts in a little less than 3 hours, so make sure you tune into it. It's going to be a huge 4-game set for the Sox, if you ask me. I mean, this is, people are saying we haven't faced good competition this season. I mean, all right, well, this is our test. So we'll see how Boston does in these next 4 games. But that is going to do it for this recap. I want to thank everyone for watching. We will have more of these Red Sox recaps coming. Once again, we apologize for doing like 2 per. We'll stick to 1 moving forward. Obviously, both of us just had extenuating circumstances throughout these last few weeks that made it so our schedules are a little bit more tight. But we will have more Red Sox recaps coming. Celtics recaps are coming soon again. I'll probably just do 1 more with my friend Trevor, where we just recap these last 4 games of the series, since, hate to say it, but it looks like the season is going to wrap up in a couple nights in Brooklyn. Bruins recaps will be coming. Me and Brian are going to be doing a double recap tomorrow night of both Game 1 and Game 2 for the Bruins. They won Game 1. Hopefully they can win tonight. And then Patriots recaps will be coming when their season resumes in the fall. I might also do off-season updates with my friend Joe, so just stay on the lookout for that. Reality TV recaps will be coming to Survivor and Big Brother once my 2 favorite shows come back in the summer and fall. We will be recapping every episode on those series. And also personal interviews with my friend Andrew will be coming at some point as well. So just look forward to all these episodes coming, all these different series, lots of content coming on in depth with David. So stay excited for that. Make sure to absorb that like button, absorb that subscribe button. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like, what you like about us, what you don't like about us. And we will talk to you after the Houston Astros series. Thank you again, Ricky, for doing this with me. We will talk to you soon, everyone. Have a good day. Take care.